what we like to do at the start of each episode is just ask a set of very kind of quick fire questions just to
Okay, go for it.
get in the mood. So first off, spaces or tabs?
Tabs.
What did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to launch rockets.
AI coding assistants, fads or game changers?
Game changers.
What's your most irrational fear?
I don't think I have any.
Okay. If you could only have three apps on your phone, what would they be?
Arc, emails, and messages.
VR or AR?
Oh, VR.
Which book do you own that you've never read?
A bunch of them.
Same here.
I tend to pile books that I need to read, but I'm reading a lot, but not
Yeah.
fast enough, apparently.
It sounds like we're exactly the same. Dark mode or light mode?
Dark mode.
And then finally, Deschamps ou Zizou.
Oh, Zizou from Marseille, so I grew up there.
Ah, okay. There we go. Thanks for that. Welcome to another episode of Byte Club. This is the MTM show where I, your host, Michael Underhill, head of the Developer Consultancy team, talk to some of the best and brightest minds in the developer space at the moment. And today I'm joined by Romain.
Thanks for the intros, and also thanks for pronouncing my name correctly. I'm based in San Francisco. I'm working for AWS as the head of developer relations worldwide. I lead a global team of developer advocates, community managers, program managers, developer marketing person who are engaging with developers around the world, and making sure that they are happy working with the platform with AWS, and also collecting their needs, so we can discuss more about that. But my background is that I have a master degree in engineering, software engineering, and networking. So part of my experience has always been between networking and software engineering. So when I was working in networking, I was always developing tools, and looking at how the network was impacting the performance of applications, going deep into how applications are built and behave. Specifically, some years ago when latency was impacting the performance across WANs, across the internet. So now it's getting better with cloud computing for sure, because we can get more application closer to the users, but still very important to know about that. So I spent a lot of time working on application performance on both sides of software and networking, and being always passionate about technology, and make sure that we make the best use of the technology to solve business problems, and not just for the sake of doing some fun stuff with technology.
Well, thank you
That's
so
it.
much for that introduction. Obviously, you work for AWS. reInvent was the your big event. What were some of your kind of favorite announcements?
From our CEO and also from Werner Vogel about our community, and the power of the community, and how to learn from each other's,
Hmm.
and the role of the AWS heroes. I think it was great that those fantastic people that are spending a lot of time on their personal time to educate others and share what they learn. I think it was awesome that our CEO and Werner Vogel, our CTO, spent some time recognizing their work. So that was one of the highlights for sure, and specifically for my team who was working directly with the communities. I think that's also a reflection of their work. So that's always good. Otherwise, in terms of services that we announced and launched, I had a couple of very interesting launches, solving different problems. Some breakouts that were really cool. One that I've really enjoyed is how we are continuing to innovate, improving the performance of our infrastructure. And specifically, there was a talk about how we are um, improving the speed of light on our network. So how we can improve the latency on our fiber network, and that was really amazing to see. Um, so that's the geek in me and the networking guy in me loving that. Otherwise, there were lots of great announcements. I think the SQL was a big one on Aurora, S3 tables, um, new of course, new Gen AI capabilities and models. So Nova, for example, that Amazon has launched, and that Andy Jassy announced himself. So Andy was back 3 years after his last reinvent as the now CEO of Amazon. The feedback we are getting from the community is really interesting and encouraging. So it's good. I think we give more choice to developers to select the right models for their use cases, and also based on the cost model that they are pursuing. So I think that's good. More announcements around Q Developer. So Q Developer is the suite of generative AI tools that we create for developers. You can find within your IDE or in the AWS console or even in the CLI to engage with your code or the infrastructure on AWS. We continue pushing the envelope there and solving problems that are important for developers. And finally, yeah, I mean, then there's a series of announcements on everything, more type of instances, and of course, yeah, I didn't say that when I joined AWS. I joined the container team. So a lot of announcements around containers for ECS and EKS with the auto mode on the EKS, which is really cool, and also the ability to control from the control plane of EKS other Kubernetes clusters.
It's really interesting hearing you talk in particular about some of the kind of AI developments and this kind of idea of AWS as providing this choice to developers. Like, is that how you see it as kind of, we're here, AWS is here as the backbone, the infrastructure, and we'll give you the developers the choice to work with whatever models you want, but we're kind of here.
Yeah, I think it's part of our DNA at Amazon. So if you look at Amazon.com, it's really about providing choice and large inventory of goods. So you can select the thing that best fits your budget and your needs and the quality that you're looking for. And AWS is providing a lot of choice as well to developers that create some complexity sometimes. So you may have heard about the 17 ways of running containers on AWS, but those tools have been built on purpose for solving some specific problems for developers. I think the change comes with choice, where sometimes you need some guidance, and we're working on simplifying that and providing more and more guidance. So if you go on the AWS documentation, we do have more and more prescriptive guidance or decision guides that we are providing to select the right database for your use case and for job that you want to solve, or the right compute engine that is best suited for your needs. So do you want to run that piece of software on serverless or containers? And same applies for AI models. We have heard from our customers that they want the flexibility, depending on the use case, also about chaining by building an agent, and they want to chain different models to solve some different tasks. So depending on the latency that they are looking for, depending on the depth of rezoning that they are looking for, and also the volume of data that they need to process, so the number of tokens that they need to process, they want to use the best model for the job.
When you hear developers say to you, there are 17 different ways of doing containers on AWS, like how do you think about that? Like, how do you think about giving them that guidance and helping them choose the right approach and the right container, for their needs?
One thing which is core to AWS and Amazon is working backwards from customers. So working backwards from customers means, okay, what are the problems that customers are facing, and how can we solve for that? So by really focusing on the use case and some of the specifics of a problem that the customer wants to solve, we want to guide them towards a solution. So we did not build 17 ways of running containers because we wanted to, and because that to have the biggest portfolio. That's not the interest. Really, the goal is to innovate with customers. And part of our philosophy is that we are completely fine having duplicates
Hmm.
and having teams working on similar changes, but they will come up with different solutions, and then we'll retain the best solution that that addresses the problem of customers. We are trying to simplify our portfolio once we have developed the solutions that are solving the most complex problems for our customers.
Understood. And I mean, this maybe segues quite nicely onto sort of developer relations as a role, as a function within an organization. What was the sort of the tipping point for you? You mentioned that you had this background in networking and software engineering. How did that then pivot to sort of a developer relations role?
Yeah, so actually, that's a good question, and that led me to leave Switzerland and Europe to move to the US. I was working for Riverbed, San Francisco-based company, but they were deployed everywhere, and they were specialized in application performance. They had some network appliances to accelerate applications on the network, intercepting messages at the TCP level, but also at the application layer to optimize and make sure the application were moving faster. But also they had APM solutions, so application performance management solutions that were going into the code to understand the pain points and the root cause for bad performance. I was leading a team of solution architects, solution engineers in the DACH region, so Germany,
Mhm.
Austria, and Switzerland. And we had a very innovative software-defined solution that we were releasing. And I recognize the need for that solution to be better known by builders in general. And I was looking at AWS. I've followed some people like Jeff Barr for the longest time. Around 2012, I joined some of the user groups here in Bern and in Zurich, and then later on in Geneva. The role of a developer advocate, or at that time, what was called technical evangelists, was exactly what we needed. I look at them and say, wow, that's really cool what they do. We need that function within Riverbed. So I pitched that to our GM. So for products in San Francisco, when he visited customers in Switzerland, I liked the idea. But they told me that you have to do that from San Francisco, from the headquarters. So I relocated my whole family to the Bay Area, and then I started to build that team of technical evangelists, a group of people that were deployed globally as well, and we started to go to conferences and engage with different types of builders. Developers on one side for everything related to application performance management, but also with more infrastructure people with other solutions. So
Yeah,
this is the start of my work in developer relations
very cool,
evangelism.
and and it's only grown since. How how do you think about a as like a successful developer relations program?
I think there are a lot of debate about that,
Hmm.
and some are very dogmatic about it. I think first of all, you always need to remember that you are working for a company, and you need to drive outcome for that company. I've heard many developer relation people, some of the comments that they are working for the community. Yes, they work to support the community and to help them grow. But you do work for a company, and that
Mm.
company expects some outcomes. A good program should be really focusing on business outcomes while focusing on customers as well. So it's this balance to find between what is right for the community of developers and what is also going to provide outcomes for the company. And if you do right by developers, eventually it's going to drive the business outcomes. And that's the thing also. You need to anchor your developer program on the long term. It's not something that you can just do. It's not like selling services or products where you have a quota and you need to deliver on that quota. Developer relations is about relationships, right? So it's about building those long-lasting relationships with the community of developers. So you can't apply sales book to that sales playbook to that relationship. But at the same time, you need to really be intentional about what you want to do from a business perspective, and what would be the outcome for the company.
And it sounds like that can sometimes be quite a tough balance to achieve. And when you've got maybe the kind of, you've got your colleagues and peers on this side saying, maybe not quite understanding the kind of the long-term relationship, trust-based thing, and then you've got developers on this side saying, well, hang on a second, I thought you were my friend. I thought, you're here to support me, hear my needs, make sure that that gets fed back into the company. It sounds tough.
It is. One of our leadership principles at Amazon is customer obsession. And I think developer relation is really everything about customer obsession, is how you can solve problems on behalf of your customers. It's not
Mm,
just about, presenting to the community, but also capturing from the community the frustration with our services, their ideas, and also their needs. So you can go back to our service teams and influence the product accordingly. It's a two-way street. So it's really about building those relationships. But you need to make sure that you are doing the right thing that are important for your business, not just because you like it and you like a topic and you know that you are going to meet developers who will like it as well. But is that the right thing to focus on? So I think overall, it's about being intentional.
I think of Amazon and AWS as being two kind of very distinct companies. And I don't quite know why, but I do my shopping on Amazon and I kind of, and then AWS is there and I know it's the backbone of so much of the internet and the digital world today and so on and so forth. But I've heard you mention a couple of times now this kind of, a lot of the things, this customer obsession from Amazon, this kind of the idea of Amazon is this platform for consumer choice, and that's also how you think about it at AWS as well. And I don't know, I just hadn't quite sort of considered those parallels before, and it's really interesting hearing you talk about them.
I think the easiest would be to consider AWS as a brand.
Hmm.
I am an Amazon employee, not an
Mm,
AWS employee.
mm,
And I'm acting as a Amazon bar raiser for interviews, and I'm interviewing candidates across all Amazon, which is fantastic, by the way, because I get to interview and discover things that I would not be exposed to, like people that are working on Project Kuiper, which is the internet by satellite. I'm also talking to people that are working at MGM Studios in Los Angeles. So because they're part of Amazon Video, so all part of Amazon's, so different departments that we have, but it's one company.
very cool. When you're recruiting someone for your team specifically, what are some of those kind of qualities that you're looking for? What makes a sort of a good sort of advocate, evangelist? What are you looking for in on that side of things?
We like to see it through functional skills and the matches to our leadership principles.
Hmm.
So starting with functional skills, what I'm looking for is someone who has the technical depth. So someone that can really go deep into the technical weeds
Hmm.
and produce level 400 type of content. At the same time, I'm looking for someone that can make the complex simple to understand. So someone
Mm,
that can talk to level 100 type of people who are just trying to understand what is GenAI and why should I use that and how containers work and why is that a good thing to package your application this way.
mm,
So m- making the complex understandable is super important for developer advocates. It's really critical. Another one is how do you engage with a community of developers? What's your experience doing that? Because that's core to what we do. So if you are not used to um, engage in one-to-many scenario. So if you have had customers, in one-to-one setting, it's very different type of exercise than engaging with a large group because you really need to think about how do I get the scale, which is very Amazonian as well. How do we engage with a large community of developers? So that's for the functional skills. On the LP, so leadership principles of Amazon, um, I think some of the top ones are customer obsession for sure,
mhm.
which is core to everything that we do. And so that was common to all Amazonians, but it's critical that we are obsessed over developers. Um, Another one would be earn trust. So it's a big LP as well for Amazon, but for us, it's super important that we earn that trust because we want to build long-lasting relationships. So you need to show up and really win their hearts and minds. So you need to demonstrate that you can do that and not trying to sell stuff. And finally, I would say that learn and be curious is the other LP that is critical in that role. Being a developer advocate means that you always need to learn
Mm.
and try to understand things and also be curious about what developers are doing and how they're doing things and why they're doing things. Identify some new trends among developers. So that's important. And
Yeah.
finally, I think a bias for action is important because I expect developer advocates to build stuff.
Yeah.
That's how you can earn trust.
It sounds like you're looking for unicorns a lot of the time, or do you feel like they're
Definitely, it's
yeah,
very hard to find the right candidates for the role. There are a lot of complexities. It's a multi-dimensional problem that we're trying to solve. Uh,
yeah.
there's a problem of uh, technical depth that is required um, across a large spectrum of solutions and problems to solve. So from data to infrastructure to AI to it's difficult to be good at everything. So you need to find the people that have that experience of being exposed to many things, but have the expertise on one area. There's a problem of finding the people in the right location. Because of time zones, because we need geographic coverage, we need the language support as well. So I'm hiring an English speaking person in to lead region like Middle East and Africa. I'm not going to engage with a lot of developers. Local language is super important for us. So we need to have that coverage. And again, it's part of earning trust with communities because you can't force people to just communicate in English. UK and Ireland are different for sure, but other regions, I mean, like French people, they prefer to speak in French.
Obviously, kind of a lot of that is, as you say, local. It's a lot of local events that are taking place in local language and so on. How did COVID change the way that kind of developer advocates and evangelists work? And have any of those changes kind of stuck around after the pandemic finished? Were there any changes that you saw to the role?
Many things changed, and it's not evenly distributed. It's not the same
Mm,
everywhere. I feel that in-person engagement is still very important in regions like Latin America or Japan, Korea. I think in EMEA as well, in most countries in Europe. If you look at how people now work after COVID, many of them are working in very distributed fashion in remote. And so they work from home or from other locations. So they don't go to the office anymore necessarily or not as often as before. And and what we see is that not many people are interested in joining meetups anymore, in-person
mm,
meetups. So they prefer to do virtually, but then the timing is not great because they have more flexibility on their side and to do personal stuff. So yeah, it was common for people to go to the office and then go to a meetup and then back home, or organizing the meetup at their office. After spending your day working from home, will you go out to a meetup?
yeah.
No, it's not common. We need to find new ways for to meet developers where they are, and that's what we've been working on. And I know that others are doing the same. But it's really different from a region to another.
I'd love to just to maybe touch on cloud computing for just a few minutes. And I say a few minutes, obviously it's a big topic that we could spend several hours discussing. What do you see as the future for cloud computing? You mentioned that there's some really big announcements that happened a couple of months ago at reInvent, but what do you see as the future for the industry and the sector as a whole? What do the next 18 months look like for cloud?
There will be a big demand for the coming years for sure. Um, it helps to innovate faster for developers to get access to the latest and greatest in different ways. They can just order and get whatever they need on demand. So I think that's going to continue. Of course, they need to handle some regulation problem in some
Mhm.
countries, so changes. So that needs to be addressed, and we have been working a lot with customers to understand how to solve their problems. So we have a number of solutions that helps them meet their needs. So of course we're launching new regions. So last week we launched a new region in Mexico. We launched also another region in Thailand. So always being closer to our customers. So that's one way of addressing this. We do have some hybrid solutions like AWS Outpost, which is basically a rack of servers and compute that we manage, but you can deploy in at your premises. There are different ways of getting access to this. And again, it's about providing choice
Mm.
to the developers. So finding the ways, but most of the innovation now happening on the infrastructure is happening in the cloud because we have
Mm.
scale, because we have
Mm.
we can spend the time focusing on that because it's our core business, as opposed to any other company where, you know, they build data centers to support their business.
Are there any kind of, I don't know, broader opportunities that you still think that kind of cloud has yet to kind of fully grasp, or that are still kind of there for the taking?
I mean, AI is certainly big there. You need to have a lot of computing capabilities to be able to support the needs of AI. And the most efficient way of doing that is to do it from the cloud. I'm a big believer in having an hybrid approach to AI. So being able to run models locally for certain tasks, and other tasks are being run in the cloud. So definitely some interesting things here happening. I have Olama on my mic, for example, so using that to run some local models like Mistral and Llama here, but also using cloud directly on Amazon Bedrock, and so yeah, it really depends on the use case and so on. It's always about having choice, but definitely the cloud is here to stay and grow. There's a huge demand, and a lot of innovation that we can do on behalf of customers.
We're close to time here, so I'll just say thank you so much for your time today, Romain. It was really
Sure.
great to chat. If you were here in person, we would have given you a Byte Club
Ah,
mug and a set of chattering teeth, but we'll pop them in the post for you. If listeners want to hear more from you, you've got your own podcast.
it's a very different theme, though. It's really about leadership. So that's the topic that I'm really passionate about, and I continue to learn about leadership and being a good leader for teams. So yeah, it's not technical, but it's something that is really interesting to me, and I try to be better for my team.
Thank you so much again. Great to have you on here.
Thank you for your time.